All right, well, Joe, before you go, Jerry thought we should just formally, if I entertain a motion that the board would like to go ahead to draft the RFP and send it out in accordance with the discussion here this evening.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
The board draft?
No, that the board supports going ahead with an RFP along the lines of what Mylona McBroom.
Well, I can second that.
Yeah.
Because I think it's going to slow it down if we all try and write this by committee.
Right,
I think that
right.
that's a terrible
No, we have to
process,
get it
so,
moving. So, any questions or discussion on that?
Yeah, just state again what exactly. So we're,
I know it's
the
getting
motion
late.
is that you're asking for is what again?
To, that the first selectman will go ahead and work with Mylona McBroom to draft an RFP, RFQ in accordance with the recommendations of Mylona McBroom and the discussion this evening.
And the consensus reached by,
Well, Joe doesn't think there's consensus, so let's just say in accordance with the recommendations of
This is-
Mylona McBroom, which I think will widely.
Okay, so this is to get the draft started
Yes,
with Malone McBroom.
correct.
No, I don't think that's true. I think what you're saying is they're gonna draft it, right? They're gonna send it to you. We may or may not see it again, and then it's going out to the RFP will be promulgated, and then the responses come back.
That's correct.
Okay.
I think it's likely you'll see it, but
Well,
I'm
see
not
it.
saying, but not for approval.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to be.
Yeah.
I think there is consensus that the
Yeah.
RFP be broad and imaginative.
Right. I thought there was consensus. I thought Joe objected to the word consensus.
Yeah,
That's why
I don't
changed it.
necessarily agree with,
You
Frankly-
disagreed with my characterization.
a little bit,
of
but
the- yeah,
frankly,
yeah.
what I really think is that we should see it and we should approve it. That's what I really think, so. But if the board doesn't think that, then that's fine. I'm only one guy.
Okay.
So I
we
do
have the
think that's
motion
right. I
made.
do think that there's consensus, at least as a general rule. that
How
we
we're
would go
approaching.
on
Yeah,
open-
absolutely.
Open. I do agree with Joe as far as if there's anything that's a little different than I had expected, is that we won't be part of any approval process in any way. In actuality, if she so chooses, she can.
She mean
formulate-
Ellen?
Yeah, first selectman. Can do, basically draft it, approve it without us basically even seeing it.
That's
No
normally
approval,
how it's
but
done.
then,
Yeah.
because she's coming up with an ad hoc committee, or whatever you wanna call this committee, they're gonna see the results, or hopefully, we're gonna get people to give us some kind of responses. And we're not gonna see those as well until basically we have one option in front of us, which is gonna say, here's what we
No,
thought
that's not
with
correct.
that ad hoc
No,
committee.
you
Well,
can see them all, but you will get recommendations
I
from
can
the
see them
committee.
all, but I can only vote based on one they recommend.
Well, they may come up
That's
with
not true.
3, they may come up with 4.
You don't have to,
But I can only, again, it has to come through them first, it has to be recommended by the ad hoc committee for me to have an option to see, a vote on. I may see it, but if it doesn't come through the the way I'm hearing it is the ad hoc committee has to give it to us as a recommendation, whether there's one or 3.
But that's the way the process worked for the Public
Right.
Works Garage. Right.
Well, it's a
Every
little
single
different
fire truck
in
they've
res-
ever bought.
yeah, it's a little different in my opinion in respect to where that was for an individual building, what we knew what we wanted there. This is a property that right now we don't know, we kiddingly talk about anything from a zoo to a skyscraper. We don't know what's gonna be
Tony,
offered.
let
We
me
know
just-
we're not gonna
let me
accept
interrupt
that,
you, 'cause I
but there's a
think-
lot more there than just deciding on
Tony,
what
I think
type
you
of
have a
building.
misconception. I don't
think so.
think, well, let me say, it's not my intention that the board be limited to viewing only what the committee recommends. The committee, the board can see every response if it would so chooses, but it will have the benefit of the vetting and the recommendations of the ad hoc committee.
That's fine, I think you accurately just said what I said, which is we can view them, but we can't necessarily be part of the process or bring them up for vote. Only the committee we'll bring them up for vote.
I don't think you're correct. I didn't say
Well,
that.
I keep hearing viewing, I could see them, but the ad hoc committee's gonna make the
You can-
recommendations.
If you want, the board does not have to accept any recommendation of the
No, I
committee.
didn't say I'd have to accept it, but again, I can't make it, the board's not gonna make any recommendations. We can view them, but only the ad hoc committee can make the recommendations. That's what I'm hearing.
The
Then the board can
recommendation
vote
is to
on
the
it.
board, and the board votes. The board can say, the committee recommended
Got it.
submission number
I
one,
think we're saying the
but
same
we, the board, want to vote on, we like submission number three. We're not, we're.
As long as they recommend it. Right.
They're
They're
We don't
bringing
have to take
forward
it.
only the
That's not what I'm
ideas
saying.
that they're recommending. You're
Tony,
saying I
Tony,
would
Tony,
review
Tony,
the,
I guess they're saying, we're not gonna have to just vote on what they recommend.
Exactly.
Right.
so if I see enough of an
So
idea,
Any
and
board
want to bring it
that
up,
makes sense
you're
with
saying
my own
you'll let it come up for.
recommended.
A committee is advisory to the board of
I
selectmen.
understand that, but you're saying if I see an
Right,
idea
and all
that they
Tony's
see,
saying
but
is
I
we
want to
should
bring it
see
up
them
as
all.
something we do vote on, you'll be acceptable to taking a vote on it.
Correct, sure.
Yeah,
Go
that's
ahead.
what
I do
And I
actually
never
have,
said anything
I
contrary.
do have a question, in all the RFP processes that I think I've been involved in, there's usually a pre-bid meeting of some kind, right, before they submit it, and you educate all the potential, is that usually what happens?
Oftentimes, not all the time, but depending on the RFP.
Depending on the
Sometimes,
RFP?
yeah. Sometimes they're mandatory, sometimes they're not.
And do we have a sense of how broadly advertised this RFP is gonna be? Are we thinking big picture, narrow picture? Do we know yet? Or we're gonna talk, I mean,
I would
we
imagine
may not know.
I would imagine we would look to some of their expertise in
Okay.
certain areas may be more productive than simply putting a
Correct.
register ad in.
Oh, yes.
Well, I wouldn't think that would, right.
Mylone and
You know.
McBroom is,
They're gonna
discussed
guide
that with
us
them
on
to
that.
help
Right.
us
Okay.
broadly
Well, that's good.
circulate
The
this.
best way to
and-
circulate it, right?
Yeah, as
So that's
broadly as
helpful.
possible.
That's very helpful. So they're gonna be ongoing in the process?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So, the motion on the table is to go ahead with an RFP, drafting and sending out an RFP in accordance with the guidelines set forth by Mylone and McBroom this evening. Beth made the motion, I believe. Is there a
I
second?
seconded it.
Any further discussion or
God,
questions?
no, please.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Joe, you don't want to go ahead with the RFP?
No, I do, but not under those circumstances. I already said, I think that we should have a final look and a final approval of the RFP. I'm all for the RFP.
Okay.
Let's not twist this around. I differ with your process.
You just want to make sure that you see it again
Yeah,
and get
I
to
would like
approve it,
see
and that's
again.
why,
As
okay.
the governing body of this town, I think
Okay.
we should see it, yeah.
All right, but I think,
And I
Tony.
think we should
we're-
approve.
That's my opinion. I just think,
Okay.
I don't know why we would, I mean, I don't, unless you think somehow that's
Frankly, I'm
gonna
not
slow
sure
the
why we
process
need the
greatly.
committee. I think this is a very important thing. I think maybe we should hang on to this ourselves, to be honest with you.
I would like also to have a look and approve the RFP that goes out.
Okay,
I think that we took that responsibility when we took the board of selectmen positions, and that's just my opinion.
Thank you. All right, we are now, did we vote? Yes, we voted.
I think we
Yes,
voted.
voted 4-2. We are now on tax refunds, right? 9B.
Yep.
So moved. I make a motion
Okay.
that we approve the tax refunds in the amount of,
$14,365.06.
$6.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Okay.
There's funding requests.
Funding requests.
There are 3 funding requests for your consideration. The first is funding request 1314-25. This is a revenue transfer which is part of the budget process police did for their vehicles, is to transfer the funds from the sale of vehicles to their budget to offset future new vehicle costs for future vehicles.
I'll make the motion to approve line item transfer 1314-25 in the amount of $4,856.25. Is there a second?
I'll second it. I can't find it, I'm sorry. Is it in here?
It's in the package.
It's
I
in
know,
my
I went through all
package.
of them.
I'm
sure
not
it's
sure I
in-
have it either, no.
I started with 26, 20, I know,
Yeah.
26, 27.
This is 25.
Yeah, I've got 28.
It's all right,
Okay.
I'm cool.
Okay, any questions or, okay, all those in favor? Aye. Tony? Joe, you voting?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm ready to pass out.
Yeah, that's how.
I'm with you, totally.
We should have
prevented you from getting food. That would have been fun.
Oh my gosh.
I love you, Jerry.
We would have been home.
Okay,
Feel the
Tony,
love between.
funding, request for funding number 1314-26 in the amount of $7,000.
This is a transfer to cover banking fees due to a low earnings credit rate. The actual amount we're paying is the same, pretty much the same as last year. There's no increase in fees really here. It's just, and we had to do a similar transfer last year, we just never increased the budget to reflect this reality. But when interest rates were higher, we would really not pay anything in fees directly because we would have an earnings credit rate on our float of our money as we naturally paid for things. But because our earnings credit rate is so low, this requires us to actually pay for some of our fees. So again, it's not due to an increase in fees, but rather we just didn't have the budget sufficient enough to cover it.
Is there a motion to approve funding request number 1314-26 in the amount of $7,000?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Final one is 1314-27, the amount of $2,000. This is a transfer in the police department to cover additional cost of radar unit repairs and maintenance.
Okay, I'll move line item transfer number 1314-27 in the amount of $2,000.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we did that next one. Okay. Next is authorization to lock in set price and term for natural gas and electricity.
We, last time we went out for electricity, to purchase electricity and to lock in our generation rate, it was several years ago, and it was the town, and it was Amity Regional School District and the Woodbridge Board of Education. And we went out to bid, and we extended the contract, I think it's through this December. At this point, our contracts are expiring, and we're in a part of the market where we think it's advantageous to extend the price. Now, the reason why we were not going to go out to a bid at this time is because we're sort of unsure about our electricity needs in light of the microgrid. So what we want to do here is simply, and Amity has already approved a motion, and I had it here somewhere, to here it is, here, to extend the bid contract to a particular date that would be determined as far as market conditions and a price. Because the market fluctuates, we have a consultant that would help us to lock in those rates. So that's Titan Energy of Rocky Hill, and they were actually the winning bidder the last time we did this. So they would, last time we bid the consultant and price as one award, but this time we would look to just bid the electricity piece and have our consultant assist us. There's no fee for that, as it's paid through our electricity rates, a standard rate that they would get.
So the motion is to authorize the first selectman to lock in the set price and term as recommended by our consultant?
By our consultant and as voted on by the cooperative that exists with Amity, Woodbridge, and Woodbridge Board of Education. My guess is it's only going to be for, because we're not sure of the timing, if any, with this microgrid. Normally we'd go out to bid, last time we did it for 3 years, I think it was, and we try to stabilize our prices over a longer period of time so we're not subject to fluctuations in the electricity market. But in this particular case, because we're not sure of our electricity needs going forward, the microgrid would mean that we wouldn't really have any electricity needs.
So what's the time frame here? What are we talking about?
So we're going to go for a series of 3 months, 6 months, just in months. It'll be less than a year.
Do that, so, okay.
Yeah, just so we can take advantage of the low market and at least extend them another 3 to 6 months. Natural gas, at this point, we went out to bid for that a while back, and it was cheaper for us to stay with the utility. So we may revisit that in the near future. So at this point, I think we're just looking for electricity.
Okay, so is there a motion to authorize?
Just one more thing, because
Yep.
it's a highly volatile, it changes constantly. It's sort of like fuel. You can't just, get a bid and then wait a week to, you have to lock it in,
So it's
like
to
that day.
act, okay,
That's
so,
why.
so,
That's the only reason why you have to have the authority, hopefully, to do it.
okay, so is there a motion to authorize the first selectman to lock in
Yeah.
the set price and
So
term?
moved.
Thank you. Is there a
Second.
second? Any discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next is the award of bids. The first is crack sealing, and we went out to bid for crack sealing just recently, and we received our bids, and it was $1.40 per pound, and that's associated with how many pounds it's a product that you seal cracks within the roads as to prevent cracking and to extend the life of the road. At the same time, we've been working with our Southern Connecticut Regional Council of Governments to form some sort of purchasing assistance, especially to some of the smaller towns that don't really have purchasing agents. And been looking to try to have them develop that a little more. And what we've decided to do is that the RCOG has joined the Capital Region Council of Governments, which is no cost to us, but it gives us access, similar to state bids, to a whole list of bids. There's maybe 25 of them or so. And so one of them was crack sealing, which was $1.33 a pound. So as a result, that's what we're asking for, is to use their purchasing cooperative to lock into. It's just another option for us. So we can use the state bid, we can look on the COG bid, we can look and see which price is best. So that's our recommendation. It's just yet another opportunity for us to use competitive purchasing and bulk purchasing at the same time.
So is the motion to allow us to?
To use the CROG bid for $1.33 a pound.
Okay,
So moved.
thank you. Is there a second? Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Milling and road reclamation?
This is an example of a state contract that we would like to use for milling and reclamation, as we do every year. And I believe next meeting, Warren will be presenting some more road information to you, as he does every year. And this is just to line up the contractor for reclamation portion of that.
So the motion is to,
To award a contract to Gary Asphalt Reclaiming on the state of Connecticut contract bid. It says it there, the number.
okay, I will make that motion.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
I think we do this all the time.
Every year, yeah.
Okay. Animal control?
We have your animal control information for the month of April, which is a little under 50 calls, which were a few more to Derby this month than in past months. There's 23 and 18 to Woodbridge and 8 to Bethany. And there are 7 cats and 6 kittens, actually, and 9 dogs at the shelter. That was as of the writing of this report. That could change. And 240 people visited the shelter.
Really?
So it gets busy this time of year. And so
Okay.
there's currently we're currently working on a capital plan for that facility to develop an approach for that facility to see exactly what's necessary in terms of improvements. And we're looking to hopefully rate that from a life safety scale, and then sort of rate it by its life safety or its preservation of asset, and then it's just different categories, so you can sort of get a feel for.
So it bumps up the timeline, you mean? I mean, what do you-
Well, so that
what do you mean?
you want to, if you need to improve the fire alarm system, you would do that before you added siding to the roof, to the
okay. So you're prioritizing
aesthetics.
in a way.
Right. Or if there's water coming in one of the doors and it's undermining the foundation, you would do that before you put in maybe, I don't know, new fencing, something like that.
So Tony, based on some of the comments we had tonight,
Mm-hmm.
and I know you've been down there regularly, is there concerns coming from the ACOs or the current acting ACOs?
Current acting ACOs?
As far as life safety or animal
No,
safety?
not to the extent that you heard this evening.
So though things may not be perfect, they're not yet, at least the ACOs are not yet concerned about it
Not to me,
affecting the
they're not.
animals.
I haven't heard it directly from them. We have a process here that we, including the capital budget, where we reached out to them to request things. I mean, that's how the capital budget works, and that didn't happen. And so we're, we haven't heard this to the degree you heard it here.
But it needs attention.
But if it does need some attention. The question is how much attention and how much it costs.
Yes.
And I guess the other question is, to what extent is that facility viable? I don't know. I mean, what in terms of what needs to be done.
Well, when you and I were there, we looked at some larger possible, at least coming down the road.
Right. Correct.
Larger
That's what we're trying to
issues.
identify here.
And so I do think there's a needs analysis to be done down there because there are some larger issues.
So we could tie this into the fact that we have these contracts expiring, and there's other communities involved, and so we're all part of this.
Yeah, because per the statute, there's other ways of handling this. We do not need that. Now, listen, it's obviously a very popular place, and I have 3 dogs, by the way, so I don't say any of this.
You have dog cred.
I'm sorry?
You have dog
I have
cred.
dog cred. But, and I love animals, I have horses too, but the thing is, maybe it's time to take a real look at that.
At the whole
That's
system.
certainly
Because
the
of the
first
fact
step.
that we're footing the bill, there's
Right.
issues at the facility,
Right.
there's issues operationally, presumably,
Mhm.
and there's other ways under the
There's-
statute. I mean, we don't have to have that. There's other ways of taking, so maybe we just need to take a
The
whole
first,
look.
I think so. And the first step, we'll hopefully be getting a report that could sort of outline some of these issues. I mean, that's one step,
Right.
is so you get a feel for
Right, I think-
how much this is going to cost you in the near and far, term.
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
Great.
But I think it's clear that we're all taking that very seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not a non-issue.
Yeah,
Right.
it's not. No, it's
Right.
an issue definitely.
Okay.
Okay.
Item number 10 is very quick. The police chief, Marcucci, let me know that at the next police commission meeting, which is the first Wednesday, I believe it's the first Wednesday in June, they will be meeting with a consultant to talk about the scope of the study, which is a result of the meeting we had here. We decided well, I don't know if we decided, but I said that we would not be micromanaging the police commission and the police department, but questions were raised about staffing and budget, and the police commission is going ahead to look at the study. So I know, Tony, you and Joe said you have some additional information. I'm just suggesting if you want to send it to the chief and the commission, or perhaps even attend the meeting and bring it there, if you want to include it in the scope of the study, and if anyone else has ideas or questions, it would be a good time to get it to the chief for that
I
meeting.
guess so. I'd like to understand exactly what they're studying. So
Well, maybe
should
you wanna
I
go to the
that
meeting.
meeting and then
Sure.
we'll find out, and then based on that, we can develop a plan of sharing information or further meetings and so forth. At this point, I have no idea what they're contemplating over there. So-
Right, but they're going to talk about the
So
scope
that's
of the study,
June-
so if there are things you think should be included in a
Right.
study, it would be good to let them
June
know.
4th?
They're usually at 6, but I you have to check each time. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, Betsy, you have a report?
Yeah, so I just wanted to give everyone a quick update on Facebook and other communications activities. Last meeting, we launched the Facebook page with 4 fans, and we now have 130. So, and we're getting about 1 or 2 new fans a week. At first, it was this huge leap, and it's kind of slowed down, but they're still trickling in. And I'm trying to post about 3 times a week photos. As the administrator, I can see which posts are more popular. Photos are much more popular than text only, so sometimes I have to get a little creative to find a photo. In addition to that, I'm still sending out press releases, probably 2 to 3 a week, but depending on what's going on. And we have a blog on the Patch website. That's bethwoodpatch.com. The events magazine is going to print tomorrow, I believe, and should be out in mailboxes June 2. And the other thing is we're trying to update the news section of the town website much more frequently. I think it's probably been updated 2 or 3 times each week for the month of May because there's been so much going on. We're trying to highlight different events in a more timely fashion. But if anybody has other suggestions on effective ways of getting the word out, in addition to Facebook, press releases, the events magazine, the website, I'd be very open to hearing them. The other big thing that I have sort of accomplished is I've recreated the energy task force, and we'll be meeting later this week for the first time to start looking into ways to help residents start saving energy and start saving money. So
That's great.
yeah, so hopefully we'll have big news soon after that meeting.
So we used to have it, and it kind of fell by the wayside, and now you're re-energizing it.
Exactly.
Great.
No pun intended.
It may be almost 10:15, but I'm as sharp as ever, so don't mess with me. Okay.
How sharp is that? Yeah.
Is that it, Betsy? Thank you very much. You've certainly accomplished a great deal in a short time. We appreciate it. Town Council's report.
Just to be very brief. At about 4 o'clock today, I received a call from the town attorney for Hamden, who indicated that Hamden is very interested in making use of our animal control facility, believe it or not. And she, at one point in the immediate past, we did make available to Hamden the facility in that the Hamden ACO, they have their own ACOs. They were picking up dogs and bringing it to the Woodbridge facility and keeping the dog at the facility overnight, a day, 2, I don't know how long. But it was their responsibility to get the dogs, bring the dogs in. And they paid us, and they proposed to pay us $10 per dog per night for this for us to border their dogs. The agreement is a very simple 2-page agreement, and this is what was used a few years ago when we did the service for Hamden. You can take a quick look at it. It doesn't say much. I'll just go over the highlights to see if you are all interested in going forward with it. We're responsible for feeding, walking, and cleaning the dogs brought to the facility. Hamden shall pay a fee of $10 per dog brought to the facility. Hamden Police Department will provide cell phones to allow for communication with Woodbridge officers. Hamden shall have no responsibility for maintaining and cleaning the facility. Woodbridge will facilitate the adoption of any dogs brought to the facility that may remain there for statutorily required length of time. No cats or animals other than dogs shall be transported. Hamden shall be responsible for providing veterinary service to dogs brought to the facility by the Hamden ACO. If the facility is full with dogs from Bethany, Derby, and Woodbridge, Hamden will have to find other alternatives for the site. And this agreement is for 1 year, but terminable. But either party can terminate the agreement upon 60 days notice to the other. So we're obligating the town of Woodbridge for a 60-day period. If we don't like how it's going, we can terminate. I told the attorney that it's the first time I've heard about it. I'd bring it up to the board today because she indicated the time is of the essence in that their alternative is to make the same kind of an arrangement with North Haven. But since they have worked with Woodbridge in the past, they would like to give Woodbridge the first chance at agreeing to this proposal. I think Tony has had some discussions with Hamden about this. So that's the proposal.
So this just came up today, and what I'd like to suggest is if the board would authorize me to sign the contract, subject to discussion with Tony,
Right.
to be sure that we can operationalize this appropriately.
Right.
Because it was just today, and since Hamden would like a decision right away, I'd like to get the authority, but I will consult with Tony before executing the
My
contract.
2 quick questions would be, assuming we can house, I don't know how many dogs, they're typically in need of housing or
Right.
motel, but the other thing is $10 a day.
Right.
Just to be sure that $10 a day makes sense.
I'm not
or it
sure that
doesn't
makes
cost us
sense.
$15 a day to house
That's
them.
the one thing I don't know if it makes sense.
I don't
Also,
think that's enough.
staffing
It's
wise,
just my opinion.
how that works.
Yeah, I don't
board-
know.
to
So
board a
maybe
cat.
you'll find out it
That's
is,
the-
but
that's
that's
the
the only
research.
question I would
About
have is $10
$15.
appropriate?
$15
For a Rottweiler.
When I board my cats
So,
when I go away.
The
it's
first
$15.
proposal, when she called me, she said $15, and then she called back and said, no, it's $10.
No.
And I got the
My
agreement for
question is,
$10.
can we call Milford and get that
Yes.
deal?
Say that again.
Or can we call Milford and get that deal?
To send our dogs there, you mean?
$10 a night.
Yeah.
Hotel, motel.
And then, I mean, come on,
Yeah.
as we continue to have the issues we just talked about, and then we're considering something at $10 a day.
Well, if there's room, do you wanna?
I suppose.
I
I mean, I know it's.
You might as well find out, I mean, you might as well find out what it costs, at least we know for next time,
Yeah.
anyways.
Right,
Late
so
work. Whatever.
if you would like to just say no tonight, or as I suggested, authorize me to execute the agreement after Tony has a chance to look at, if it's realistic and what number would make it work.
Right.
Otherwise, I don't wanna have a special meeting just on this.
No.
So it's just to keep it in work. It's 60 days,
terminate.
because you can terminate it with 60 days
Okay,
notice.
well, that's-
Yeah, I move we authorize the first selectman
Yeah, that's
to explore this further and go for 60 days if she.
But, thank you, right. So, excuse me, so Lawrence is making the motion,
Right.
Joe is seconding the motion,
I'll second
and now
it,
discussion.
provided that, we discuss a realistic number,
Yeah.
and provided that operationally, it's not a negative impact based on
Right.
what we're
Correct,
hearing.
that's my big concern, right.
Both
So-
good conditions.
Yeah.
How about, Tony and I will take a look at it, we'll send something out before we take any action. Okay.
So second, so yes.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Jerry, anything else?
Yes, just very quickly, you all know that the agreement with the Fire Commission and Inland Wetlands has been codified in terms of an order with the court. The court heard the agreement, all the parties were present in court a couple weeks ago. The court blessed the agreement and said that we have to report back when all the conditions of the agreement has been completed. Just to make perfectly clear, there's been some confusion as to the out-of-pocket costs the town must pay for this agreement. There is absolutely no out-of-pocket cost. The $500 for the plantings is the obligation of the association, and it's not going to be paid by either the fire commission or for the town. We made that clear on the record before the judge. Both parties agreed. The cost, the out-of-pocket cost for the railing is going to be the obligation of the association. We also made that clear on the record, and both parties agreed to that. So there is absolutely no out-of-pocket cost. There is one part of the agreement, just
No
very...
out-of-pocket costs for plantings or the
Those two
fencing.
items, the fencing. There's one part of the agreement that is totally independent of the actual dispute between the parties concerning the patio, and that was a suggestion by the Inland Wetlands Commission that there be constructed curbing around the dumpster enclosure area to prevent any leaching of waste toward the wetlands or upland review area. The town thought that was a reasonable request, and that is in the agreement. The town has informally indicated to the Inland Wetlands that since this is town property, it's an improvement to the town property, and it's a very good thing to have. The town's Public Works Department will be in charge of assisting the association with doing this, and the out-of-pocket cost for the curbing, and I don't know how much is involved, but it's not a large area, will be provided by the Public Works Department. Apparently, they have a machine that does curbing
machine.
sidewalks and things. So that's the only responsibility that the town has for any
And the town pays the material costs.
right, the material costs, and assist in the curb, in the actual laying the curbs.
And just to mention, the agreement and the court transcript are on the website for anyone who wants to look at it. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, number 13 is that Bob Ritchie has resigned from the Economic Development Commission, and we thank him very much for his service on the commission. Is there a motion to accept the town clerk's report, item number 14?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Okay, minutes. Jerry, you had to do so many minutes. All right. First are the minutes of Tuesday, December 3rd, joint Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen meeting minutes. I will move approval of these minutes.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments or edits?
None of them have any.
Okay, any questions? I'll just check. I think we just got it. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. The second is also joint Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen minutes of December 5th, 2013. I'll move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Any questions or comments or edits? Yeah. All those in
You do
favor?
The whole package, there's no mistakes, it's all good.
All those in favor? Aye. Lawrence? you
Jerry,
okay
I'll
with it?
abstain.
Okay, next are the minutes of the joint Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen meeting of January 23rd, 2014. I'll move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Any questions, comments, or edits? All those in favor? Aye.
You just.
The next are the minutes of the joint Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen meeting of January 28th, 2014. I'll move acceptance of the minutes.
Second.
Questions, comments, or edits? All those in favor?
Aye.
I have to abstain because I wasn't there. Yep. Griffin, don't start.
Didn't remember we had something.
These are all the budget- these are all
The budget meetings, okay.
Yeah.
On January 30th, the Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen met again on the budget. I move approval of the minutes of January 30th.
Second.
Questions, comments, or edits? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next are the minutes of the Board of Selectmen meeting of March 12th, 2014. I'll move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Any questions, comments, or edits? No. Good work, Jerry. All those in favor?
Aye.
I did these.
Next are the minutes of the Board of Selectmen public hearing of March 12th, 2014 on the amendment to Article 4 of the Woodbridge Ordinance entitled Relief for Elderly and/or Totally Disabled Homeowners in regard to revocable trust. I'll move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Questions, comments, or edits? All those in favor?
I have a quick question though. What's the status on that, Chair? Because we were gonna be looking for, other time. No, not on that, I'm
No,
sorry.
not
We passed it.
Yeah, no, I'm
We
sorry.
passed
I had the other, it was the, which
I
one
know
am
what it
thinking
was,
of?
the ethics.
The ethics.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah,
I'm
we have
sorry.
another ordinance committee meeting, so the next meeting, we're having one, I
We're
think,
meeting
Yeah,
tomorrow.
you were reaching out to some other town.
Right, I don't have, I was really reaching out to CCM to get their model
Okay.
ordinances.
Okay.
I haven't gotten it yet, I did reach out, but they said they would send it to me.
I'm sorry.
There was also a Board of Selectmen special meeting on April 16, 2014 with respect to the Pease Place Woodbridge Community Playground. I'll move acceptance of the minutes.
Second.
Any questions, comments, or edits? No? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Okay, next is the first Selectmen's report. The first item I would like to talk about and rejoice in with everyone is that we received a $500,000 steep grant from the state of Connecticut for improvements of Beecher Road School. This is separate and independent from the contract we voted on tonight. This has to do with paving and sidewalks and outdoor lighting. The town had applied for this grant last year and it was denied, and Tony and I worked to amend it and resubmit, and we advocated for this grant, and I think it's very important for the Beecher complex there. We're going to have a beautiful new school. We need to have the sidewalks and the paving, so we are in a very good shape on this $500,000 grant. It is the maximum amount you can get in a steep grant, so that was great news. I also want to mention, in case people are still watching before they go to sleep, 2 important upcoming events. March 22nd, 7 o'clock in the Center Cafe.
May.
What did she say?
Did I
March.
charge?
May.
Food.
I haven't had it.
Believe
I-
me, they're not awake.
Right.
They
Okay.
went to sleep a long time.
On May 22nd, 7 o'clock in the Center Cafe, the Department of Transportation will be presenting its updated plan on the Route 15 Exit 59 interchange. It's very important that people turn out for that meeting so that the Department of Transportation understands the importance of this issue for the town of Woodbridge. On May 29th, 7 o'clock in the Center Gym, there will be a continuation of the Plan of Conservation and Development charrette. And as I said, the meeting on Saturday was very, very impressive and informative. So for people who couldn't make it, it's a wonderful opportunity to still be part of this process. And also to remind everyone that there is a survey online. If you go to our website, you'll see the survey. In terms of activities for the last month, I'm going to skip the dates, but just read through some of the places that I've been and meetings I've attended. There was a volunteer tea put on by Human Services, which was wonderful. It's a tradition that was started over 20 years ago by Mary Ellen LaRocca to recognize volunteers, which are, as we all know, volunteers are so significant to our town, and it was a wonderful event. I met with Andy and Tara Stack with respect to the community gardens up on the Fitzgerald property. Mayor Harp and I met with our police chiefs to explore areas of greater cooperation between the two police departments. I also continue monthly meetings with Mayor Harp to speak generally about how our towns can cooperate and issues of overlapping significance. The Exit 59 is one of those issues. Of course, we had the preliminary budget hearing this in April. I also toured the Public Works Garage with Terry Gilbertson, and I would encourage members of the board to do that. It's a very impressive building. It's coming along very, very well. I've been attending the Scrog monthly meetings, and Betsy has been attending those as well. The Bethwood Baseball League opening day was rained out from its usual place outside. It was held in the fire station, and it was terrific. It was very well attended, and I think it didn't take anything away from it being held indoors. April 27 was Yom HaShoah. That's the Holocaust Memorial. It was at the JCC. It was a very moving ceremony, as it always is. There were Holocaust survivors. There are still Holocaust survivors alive who told their own personal stories. So if you have an opportunity next year to attend, I certainly suggest it. It's a very moving ceremony. We had a meeting with DOT, the State Department of Transportation, with respect to the construction work going on at Route 63 and 67, and the area neighbors attended and expressed their concerns and requests for information about what was going on there. May 1st was the National Day of Prayer, which I attended and read the governor's proclamation. In addition to the Massaro Farm meetings, which I've been going to monthly now that I'm an ex officio member, I am also on an ad hoc membership committee that is looking at what the membership privileges and what the period of time that a membership lasts. There are very important questions about membership in Massaro Farm arose this year at the annual meeting. Several of us were there, and it was not a good showing for the farm at that time, and Dave Schneider, who's the chair, has taken it very seriously and appointed a committee to look at that. Betsy and I don't recall if Tony was there, met with the Connecticut Fund for the Environment to help us understand better the United Illuminating Tree Trimming Program. And on that issue, we had UI come to the town to present. It was not well attended, but they certainly presented all the details of their plan, and it's something that's very, very important for town residents. UI is going to be looking for consent from homeowners to cut down just about every tree within 8 feet of the power lines. So the ordinance committee is going to be meeting tomorrow to take a look at what would be appropriate restrictions that the town can implement with respect to this tree trimming and cutting program. So that will be happening tomorrow. I attended the Woodbridge Volunteer Fire Association installation dinner. Beth was there. And the Historical Society open house, that too, if you haven't been to the Darling House, I certainly recommend it. It's a terrific tour. As Jerry mentioned, we had the court hearing on the settlement between the Inland Wetlands and the Fire Commission, and the judge was very complimentary of the efforts of both commissions and agencies to get this matter resolved. The ADL Greater New Haven Torch of Liberty Awards dinner was this week, and I attended. It was also a very impressive program honoring Carlton Highsmith and Mark Skloras. Friday was the DARE graduation at Beecher Road School, and like everything at Beecher Road School, it was delightful and wonderful to see the children and everything they're doing there. Saturday, we've mentioned the Plan of Conservation and Development charrette. Again, it was very, very well done. I encourage anyone who didn't make it to attend on the 29th. yesterday, actually, Amity hosted the Southern Connecticut Conference Eastern Sectionals track meets. And I went over to view that. It was great. There were high school students from around the region, very energetic. And the Amity boys, according to our information today, right, Betsy? The Amity boys track team and the Amity girls track team both were number one, and they did very well.
Oh, that's great.
As you all know, we had the annual town meeting last night. The budget was adopted as proposed by the Board of Finance without any controversy. So that's the highlights of this month. And now we'll go to liaison reports. I'm sorry? I didn't hear what you said.
We're getting worse than Tony.
You're right. Okay, liaison reports. Joe? You-
No.
Nothing. Tony?
Okay, Coopop and Conservation, that are both, happen to be on liaison for, had Conservation had their own meeting on the 17th of April, but Coopop and Conservation have met together a couple of times, one of which I was able to attend, the second one I wasn't. I had a third meeting. They've been talking about the 10-year plan and ways to, Coopop's been working hard for a couple of years as far as trying to get properties that are publicly owned and to somehow rate them and come up with a rating system for those properties that can be included into the 10-year plan. Conservation's working with them now in accordance to, they're looking to rate some properties themselves. They had discussions about compiling the list and different categories that Sheila McCreven and Coopop have come up with for classifications of those properties. And Malone and McBroom reported to them, and they were able to exchange ideas with Malone and McBroom as far as the 10-year plan goes, and more talk about how those properties can be put into the plan and assessed. I'm going to jump over to Recreation. Recreation Commission met 3 different times since we last met. A special meeting was held on the 12th to talk to pool club members. I shouldn't say pool club, I should say recreational pool use at the Beecher Road School members. There's been some talk about some changes to the building with security and changes that the Beecher Road School will be going through, and they wanted to talk with those members of the pool who use it during the daytime or school hours. So they had that meeting. I thought it went very well. There's also been a lot of talk, of course, about the country club. They are very much hoping to refurbish 2 of the tennis courts, and I understand they've had conversations.
They have that within their budget to do that, and so.
That's a Billy Casper budget?
No, in the rec budget.
Oh, the rec,
They
the
want to
rec budget. Oh, I
They
see.
would want to refurbish them, just 2 of them, as the recreation department, as a recreational asset.
They have the $4,000 in their
Okay.
budget to use it, and they're hoping to refurbish those 2 courts
Right.
and maybe look at 2 others at another time.
Right.
So they'll be excited about that. They're also looking at, they went through a long process of the policies and procedures, which I believe they've had an opportunity to talk to maybe Betsy and Jerry about. Last night, Jerry was able to have a conversation with them. They were looking for some guidance as to a possible issue with the pool, and I think Jerry had the opportunity to talk to them and straighten that out. And basically, other than that, they summer programs, they have finalizing the plans now. As you know, the Beecher Road School during the summer won't be available for the rec programs, so they have moved them and made associations with the high school and with Ezra and a few other places, and they've even basically have just about finalized, I think maybe have finalized the busing on how they'll get those kids to the pool if they need use of the pool. So there is some logistics going on there, and they're working through all those different stages. And that's it.
Thank you.
Number 1, real quick, because it's so late. I just want to pass this out. I took some pictures. I did get an opportunity with Ellie to tour the Public Works facility. And I just took some photos, so I thought you might want to see where we are. And it's a beautiful building, and we'll continue to follow it up and we talked to Ellie a little bit about the naming of the building and things like that. So just take a peek at that, and I want it back when you're done, but quick. I did attend the April 21st Fire Commission meeting, and the chief reported that the department will be close for budget. Ellen also was at that meeting. That was the one last month, to thank the fire department for reaching a settlement with the Inland Wetlands Commission regarding the patio. The Department of Transportation is in the process of weighing all the apparatus. This is something new that they're now doing, and we'll hope that we're within guidelines and we don't have too heavy trucks. Sorry. Tires are going to be replaced in 2015-16 budget, so prepare for that. Per NFPA standards, they can only be on trucks for 7 years, regardless if the truck ever goes out or anything. It has nothing to do with mileage. It's just age of the tires. Kim Pockwitz, did you mention this? I'm sorry, in the meeting. I'm so tired. I don't know where I am here. Oh, daughter of Assistant Chief Pockwitz was awarded the first Selectman Youth Award, and she's and the fire department also received an award from Human Services at that T for exemplary volunteer service. The chief reported that Engine 7 bid specs have been submitted, and I guess that's going out. I don't know, Tone, do you know if that's going out?
I haven't got it yet.
Oh, okay.
He tells me I should be.
Stand by, it's
arriving
coming.
back shortly.
Right, they said that
Should
again
be
at last
arriving
night's
shortly.
meeting. Several members of the department attended a fire expo in Indianapolis where they took training classes and visited as many as 900 vendors, and they were actually able to inspect and try out different pieces of equipment, including some of the items that are going to be on Engine 7. The annual Fire Safety Day, done every year in memory of Eva Block, was very well attended, and they gave out 60 carbon monoxide detectors and over 90 smoke detectors. And the fire department, the association, provides those. Let's see. You saw the debate. We heard about the Lucas device, and you've seen it also. I'm not even going to talk about it. Let's see. Fire Marshal Capucci reported that he has completed 60 inspections since February. I couldn't attend the May 5th Plan and Zoning meeting. I had a conflict. And then last night we had another meeting, and I had to leave early again because of the annual meeting. But basically, again, close to budget. They did discuss the oil water separator, which we heard from Tony about. Rescue 1's going out for service with some paint issues, but most is going to be covered by insurance. Gear is all up to date. The commission ratified the following officers. Let's see. Chief Pockwitz, Assistant Chief, Captain Al Kerner, Lieutenant Paul Konworski, Lieutenant Chris Bonner, Lieutenant Chris Risch, and Sergeant Mike Silvestrini. And just on another note, the WVFA also mulched and weeded the firehouse this past weekend. They did it themselves, so they're good volunteers. That's it. Thanks.
Boris?
Yeah, on April 22nd, the Woodbridge Board of Education met. Some highlights from that meeting. Arts Week is scheduled first part of June. It is an extravaganza, to your point about what happens there seems to shine. So Arts Week is coming up first part of next month. As Tony suggested with the Recreation Department, Beecher Road School or the Woodbridge Board of Ed runs some programs too, and they're working on logistics given plans for construction this summer. And I'm sure that story has moved since April 22nd. The students at Beecher Road School have just now finished up a 3-week series of assessments, a new generation of standardized testing, and Woodbridge is well positioned for this new generation of testing with its investment in technology. And then speaking of technology, the Board of Ed, after prudent management of its FY14 budget, was able to invest some of those funds in technology upgrades to reduce its request for FY15, and that was reflected in last night's annual town meeting. The May meeting of the Woodbridge Board of Education happened concurrent with our meeting tonight, so I don't know, Margaret, if you want to...
But we ended a little earlier than you did.
Well, it's a school night, right?
Yeah. No, everybody was very, very excited, and we were all very, very grateful about the steep grant. So we did talk about that tonight, and thank you especially to Ellen and Tony and whoever else is involved in
that process. We just keep knocking on wood because things are going very, very well. And again, the contract, for the upgrade, we announced it again tonight at the Board of Ed. I got texts because I had to leave to go to our meeting. So thank you again. It's been a long process, and you guys brought it to finalization, and we can't thank you enough. There was a meeting today to discuss kind of the plans, and everything's in motion to be over at the high school with our summer programs and everything else. So thank you again. We got some updates on things that are going on at the school, but it's late, and everything's good. We're very happy. Thank you. Well, thank you for coming back.
Thank you, Margaret.
I had to come back and say thank you.
Yeah, just a few highlights from the Amity Board of Education. I guess probably the lead story is approval in each of the 3-member towns of the budget for FY15. And again, the Woodbridge share of that is reflected in the budget approved at the annual town meeting last night. For the second consecutive month, the Amity Board of Ed deliberated about and then failed to make a decision on the microgrid grant, and so anyway, that board is still working on specifics about whether or not to accept $3 million for predictability and providing for the emergency shelter and all of the things we think are advantages of the microgrid project. So we'll keep you posted on that. And then I'll just mention one last thing. Last Tuesday morning, a week ago today, Amity Regional High School and Beecher Road School were recognized by the Commissioner of Education as schools of distinction in Connecticut, and schools of distinction uppercase. It must mean something. But I think a feather in our cap as the town. Beecher Road School is wholly owned and operated, and we are the host community for Amity High School. Thank you.
Thanks, Lois.
I did attend the CCW meeting, but Dee gave the report, so I won't. However, at Ellen's request, she was not able to attend the centenarian luncheon, and it was held at the JCC. It's a celebration of the centenarians in the greater New Haven area. There's a number of Woodbridge residents who were there. Mr. Feldman is 106 years old. Not nothing. There was about 15 or 16 celebrants, and given the length of this meeting, I know just how they feel. It was a wonderful event.
We got through quite a lengthy agenda with some significant items on it tonight. Thank you, everyone, for your perseverance and good work tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Isn't that just what you wanted to do on your birthday?
All those in favor of adjournment? Okay, thank you.
Thanks for telling me about that last night.